While most people were gaining weight during the pandemic, I managed to do the opposite, dropping my weight from 180 pounds to 140 in just 9 months. I lost weight so fast that people, including my own patients, actually started asking me if I was okay. I was, though, and I actually had more energy and more mental clarity than ever before because I finally discovered the secret that worked for me, fasting. But I did it a little differently than a lot of other people. I found a unique regimen that worked perfectly for me, and I'm still using it to keep the weight off. Ever since middle school, I've tried to lose weight, and I tried everything. I ate what I thought was healthy, tried low-fat and low-carb diets, and tried exercising more with cardio and weightlifting. And I just didn't understand why I wasn't losing weight. If you're interested in learning exactly what I did, then keep watching, because in this video, I'll take you through my weight loss journey, including my fasting regimen and the lessons I learned to help keep the weight off. I'll also tell you the mistakes I made so you can avoid making the same ones. Look, you deserve to lose weight in a way that's the most effective, sustainable, and healthy for you, but this is what worked for me. So check in with your doctor before starting your own journey. All right, let's get started. I was finally able to lose the weight and keep it off using 5 major principles. First, let's talk about exactly what I did to lose the weight. When you think about fasting, you might think about intermittent fasting or fasting for religious purposes like Ramadan. There are a lot of different ways to fast. I found the way that was most effective for me. I did a modified version of intermittent fasting that I like to call the biofeedback fasting method. Instead of aiming for a specific number of hours, I focused more on my hunger. I started paying attention to my energy levels, both physical and mental energy, and my body's hunger signals. I fasted on most weekdays, and I generally skipped breakfast on those days anyway, so I just kept that going. I did have black coffee in the morning, which gave me some energy, hydration, and some electrolytes. And to be honest, I was so busy at clinic that a lot of times I'd work through lunch without eating. When I got home, I didn't overindulge or binge to make up for the lack of calories. Some nights after work, I'd limit my overall calorie intake with low-carb foods like turkey and a mix of nuts, cheese, and apples. I'm not a huge fan of cooking, so I'd make some simple chicken and vegetable recipes or get a burrito bowl without rice once in a while, but not always because of the high salt content. Using my hunger as a guide allowed me to ease into fasting and gradually increase the time between meals. This helped me limit the side effects of fasting like fatigue, headaches, or extreme hunger. And if I didn't feel right, I'd eat. If I was only a little hungry though, I'd wait a little bit longer to eat. And then about once a week, usually Fridays, I would do an extended fast. So my last meal would be on Thursday night. And then Friday was often my late day at work, so I'd get home at like 6:30 or 7 p.m. And when I got home, I'd wait a little longer until I ate my meal if I felt okay. I would usually break the fast with a cheat meal though, like Thai food, the Penang curry with chicken, extra spicy. I'd make the weekends my cheat days, and I wouldn't really count calories, but I noticed that I didn't want as much food or as much sugar. The weight still fell off despite having 2 cheat days plus a cheat meal on Friday nights. I kind of stumbled onto this regimen, and I definitely made mistakes along the way, which we'll talk about more towards the end of the video. Fasting completely changed my perspective on food. Looking at food in this new way helped me keep my weight down now, even when I'm not fasting. One principle that I kind of knew already but experienced firsthand is that what I eat or don't eat affects my weight much more than exercise. Whenever I talk to a patient about weight loss, here's what I tell them. A Snickers bar has over 200 calories, and to burn off just 1 candy bar, you have to walk or run like 2 miles. So it's way more efficient to avoid excess calories than it is to burn them off. In fact, when I lost the weight, I barely did any exercise at all. I might not make the same choice if I had to do it all over again, but more on that later. What helped me limit excess calories though was keeping this next principle in mind. I realized that for me, food serves 2 purposes, providing nutrition and making me feel better. Fasting helped me detach myself from eating food emotionally, recognizing how often I reach for food just to feel better. I realized that food never really made me feel better emotionally. Not only was it a temporary pleasure similar to alcohol or any other escape, but it led me to feeling worse emotionally later on because it set me further back from my weight loss and health goals. Plus, mentally, I was more irritable and jumpy, but also paradoxically more sluggish. And physically, it wasn't uncommon to have abdominal pain or just overall feel terrible after emotional eating. There's nothing inherently wrong with enjoying what we eat, but when I used it as a crutch or an escape or a replacement for dealing with my problems, it became a problem itself. Food is also integral to most cultures and a lot of social settings, so it's impossible to completely ignore its purpose outside of providing nutrition. And at gatherings, food helps bring us together and adds to that enjoyment of being with other people. It's when we make it a habit to seek pleasure from food and do it in excess that it becomes a problem. The third principle I learned was that, for me specifically, it's way harder to eat unhealthy food in moderation than it is to completely abstain from it. If I have something sweet or high carb during the day, I get much hungrier later, more so than if I fast. On top of that, if I have it one day, I'll crave it the next. So if I eat a small piece of candy one day, the next day I'll have some more, and then more the next day, and it spirals. And before I know it, I've built a habit of eating unhealthy food almost daily. To prevent myself from overdoing it, during the week I fast most of the day, and in the evening I just try to eat super clean with basically chicken, vegetables, fruit, nuts, and protein shakes. On the weekends I eat whatever I want, and right now my go-to is cheesecake and chocolate, which honestly I probably need to cut back on. But when Monday hits, I am back to fasting and eating clean again. The fourth principle is that I need less food than I thought I did. I am about 5'6" and a half and weigh around 150, and realize that most portions are way too much food for me because I know I can manage hunger without getting hangry. This last principle is essential to making any major changes in life, including losing weight. Discipline and consistency are key. Fasting requires self-discipline. So does eating only as much food as I needed during meals, limiting snacking, and avoiding calorie-dense and unhealthy food during the week. It was hard, especially in the beginning, and can still be challenging right after cheat days. But once I got going, it became much easier. Because like a muscle, discipline can be strengthened over time. And the secret is that, just like muscle, it's much easier to build discipline a little bit at a time. When I fasted, I didn't aim to avoid calories for 22 hours straight in the beginning. I just delayed eating by a little bit when I felt hungry, and I used tricks like drinking water or coffee, or even doing yoga to curb my appetite a little to help keep me going. I gradually extended the time that I delayed my next meal little by little until I did what I didn't think was possible, going 20, 22, and sometimes 24 hours without any calories. It allowed my body to adjust to fasting without getting hypoglycemic or having low sugar levels, while helping build my discipline. These small wins gave me the strength to control my appetite and food intake. When I ate in the past, especially with dessert, I used to always think, just one more bite. It won't significantly affect my calorie intake or my weight. Well, it did. Because when consistently having just one more bite, it adds up to extra calories and fat tissue. The reverse is true too though. Consistently avoiding that little extra can be the difference between a 34-inch waist and a 30-inch waist. To me, snacking was the same as telling myself just one more bite, because I'd have a little bit of something over and over again, and this actually contributed a whole lot to my overall calorie intake. Fasting also taught me that I don't need to snack because I already proved to myself that I can go hours without eating and didn't need those extra calories. They were basically just a cure for boredom, which I found other solutions to that didn't bring in extra calories. Discipline and consistency go hand in hand. Discipline is what helped me have consistent, healthy behaviors, and doing them consistently is really what led to huge changes. Small actions or inactions added up to major changes and significant weight loss, and the only way to make that happen is through consistency. The same goes for working out, saving money, or learning new skills. Practicing discipline and consistency with fasting helped me in a lot of other areas of life, and to build the discipline and consistency I needed to lose weight and get fit, I drew on other areas of my life where I already practiced these principles, which for me was going through medical school and residency. Here's what I would have done differently when I was losing weight by fasting. I got pretty dehydrated at times, so I should have drank more water. Food contains a portion of our water intake, so you're even more prone to dehydration when you're fasting. I also didn't get enough electrolytes because, unlike most of us Americans who eat too much salt, I actually had the opposite problem and got a little lightheaded at times. This is one of the main reasons it's a good idea to check in with the doctor so that you don't make the same mistake while also avoiding too much salt intake. And when I have days of really low calorie intake or less plants for whatever reason, I often take a multivitamin to make up for some of that nutrient loss. But really, I should have incorporated more fruits and especially vegetables into my low-calorie diet to get all my nutrients. And going back to exercise, I barely did any when I was fasting. If you're consuming a relatively low amount of calories, exercise could get a little dangerous for various reasons. Another reason to check in with an expert. But because I had so little physical activity, I lost a lot of muscle mass. There are ways to minimize muscle loss in healthy ways, which I'm incorporating now, and it's definitely working, but more on that later. That brings us to my current regimen. Since I started exercising, I started taking in a little more calorie intake, especially in the form of protein. One thing that I did keep consistent was that I prolong the time between meals. So I don't eat if I don't feel hungry. And I usually don't snack between meals because I know I don't need it. This helps me from adding on unnecessary calories that would otherwise inevitably make my waistline grow. I work out every single day, but at different intensities. And despite having low calorie intake on some days, working out helps me prevent muscle loss, especially if I do strength training and exercise within my limits. On weekdays before work, I work out fasting except for having a little bit of black coffee. The fluid, electrolytes, and caffeine help me throughout my workout. And I stay very well hydrated throughout the workout too. Sometimes I'll have a protein shake or a banana or something before heading to the gym if I need the boost, but usually not. I do switch it up, but currently I'm fasting all day at work while making sure that I stay hydrated. I do keep protein shakes and nuts at my desk just in case I feel my sugar dropping and need some extra calories. And sometimes we'll have lunch provided at clinic, so I'll eat that. Fasting every single day after working out is not really that sustainable for me in the long run, so I'll also go through periods where I'll have something healthy for lunch like a salad or at least some fruit or some nuts. Like I mentioned, the act of exercising can help preserve muscle mass, but when I'm trying to gain more muscle, optimal protein intake is 2 hours after a workout and then every few hours after that, so I'll do a regimen like that. I talk more about this in this video that I did on the best forms and optimal amount of protein. I still struggle with limiting cheat days. Like I talked about earlier in the video, I do struggle with portion control and eating in moderation, which I'm sure a lot of y'all understand. I do eat what I want on weekends, but if I have more than like 2 days off in a row, it's sometimes hard to stop the cheating because then I've built a small habit of eating badly every day. And that's probably why my pants fit a little bit more tightly after Christmas. I use my Monday through Friday job to help me switch gears back to healthy eating during the week. The change of environment and workload helped get me back on track. Keep in mind though, this is what worked for me. I definitely made some mistakes building this regimen for myself, and I'm constantly tweaking it and adjusting my approach, especially as my exercise habits or my energy levels change. But if you want to know more, leave a comment down below. Regardless, whenever making a change to your dietary regimen, it's always a good idea to check in with a healthcare provider to avoid periods of low blood pressure or low blood sugar, especially people with high blood pressure or diabetes or who are on any medications should definitely be careful with a regimen like this. That being said, what you eat can affect things like your risk of diabetes or high blood pressure, which can cause cardiovascular disease. I made a video on what to eat to naturally lower blood pressure if you'd like to check it out. Peace, see you in the next one.